In economics, we always view prices as a relative because relative prices tell us what we had to give up in order to consume the good. In other words, they tell us the trade-offs we face when consuming any good or bundle of goods. And this is the bread and butter of economics. It helps us understand opportunity costs of consumption, and it eventually can be parlayed into understandings about comparative advantage and gains from trade. So an understanding of this is really foundational to your intuition that you will develop in economics. So let's break this down. When you hear that the price of wine is $10 a glass or the price of a loaf of bread is $5 a loaf, this is absolute prices. Absolute prices are different than relative prices. To understand relative prices, we have to understand what we give up in order to consume a glass of wine. So every time I consume a glass of wine, I give up 2 whole loaves of bread. That is the price of wine in terms of bread, okay? My $10 means that I had to give up 2 whole loaves of bread at a price of $5 a loaf. So let's parlay this understanding into some things that you're seeing in the news when it comes to how tariffs are changing prices. Now, the first thing to understand is that tariffs are not the same across all commodities and for all countries. And that means relative prices are changing all over the place. So different commodities face different tariff rates, and different countries face different tariff rates. And so let's look at this in terms of a consumer in India. So if you're a consumer in India and you're choosing to consume lentils, you have many choices about where the origins of your lentils come from. And one of the 2 choices that consumers in India really have are Canadian lentils and US lentils, which are very similar. So in this case, what a consumer in India is thinking is, okay, what's the price of US lentils in terms of Canadian lentils? And when it comes to the imposition of tariffs, what you have is that the price of US lentils went up. And so every time that consumer chooses to consume US lentils, they give up more Canadian lentils as a result. So the price of US lentils in terms of Canadian lentils has gone up. And so you will see consumers switching and decreasing their consumption of US lentils, substituting it for Canadian lentils. And so this relative price plays into the choices that consumers make throughout their day. And so hopefully this gives you a nice foundational knowledge of what relative prices look like in the real world and even globally.